So I'm actually for the morning session I did for 240 for Boyce. I used a different review, and then this is the review that I put together for last fall, which is it should still be the same information. They haven't changed anything, and um, this is the one that just kind of make sure you review a lot of these things that you should already have pretty much narrowed down because you're fourth semester. You've already done this a couple of times, so you should probably be feeling pretty strong about most of this stuff. I think the only thing that's really kind of new for you this semester is going to be the nitroglycerin drip titration question, but everything else you've seen before. You know how to do your household measurements. You know how to convert between the systems between metric and household. You know how to convert metric to metric. You know how to convert pounds to kilograms. You know how to do your intake question. That's where you're going to calculate the volume based off of what's available to you. So, like, the fruit cocktail and the pudding and the jello and the ice cream pop and all that kind of stuff. Like, you know how to do those things. You've been doing these oral based medication one and two step methods now for several semesters. You know that parenteral just means that it's going to be a milliliter. So you're either going to be doing an IV push, SC or IM. You know how to do the insulin questions. That's just basically can you either convert, units per hour to milliliters per hour or milliliters per hour to units per hour, or can you read a sliding scale? I know you know how to do that. Um, the IV flow rate questions, you've been doing that milliliters per hour, drops per minute. Um, Reconstitution, you've been doing that since first semester. And then heparin, you were introduced to last semester. So we can definitely refresh on those. Now, some of these have already been worked through, but I'm going to go through and just kind of highlight a couple of those things. And then we can certainly work through any of those things that you'd like to do. Um, so if you see something, just stop me. I just want to see the couple questions that I know are usually challenging. Here, let's see if I can find another question like this gentamicin question. Here, I wrote the answers to these. Let's go through let's go through this question. Since I only wrote the answers, I'll at least work through these so you can kind of see how they're solved, even if you already know how to do it. All right. So for these heparin infusion questions, the first things first, you got to convert the patient's weight in pounds to kilograms. If you don't do that, then you're going to be behind the ball as far as how you're supposed to do this. So 262 divided by 2.2, and we're going to get 119.09. So we're just going to round that to 119.1 kilogram. It tells us to bolus the patient with 80 units per kilogram body weight and to start an infusion at 18 units per kilogram per hour. And it says to that we have 25,000 units in 250 ml, and we have a bolus dose available of 1,000 units. The first question is, what is the milliliters for the bolus? And so let's figure that out. So we're going to start off with the patient's weight, 119.1 kilograms, multiply by the bolus dose, which is the 80 units. It's supposed to be an 80 per kilogram. So kilograms are eliminated. And then if we did our math there, we'd be in units. So we want to make an additional conversion of units to milliliters. And then this is where, since we're calculating the bolus, we want to use the bolus dose strength, which is the 1,000 units per milliliter. So I'm going to take that 119.1 times 80, and then I'm going to divide by 1,000. I'm going to get 9.528, but we're just going to go ahead and round that to 9.5 milliliters. Then we're going to follow the same kind of steps for the infusion rate. So we'll take the patient's weight, 119.1. This time we're going to be multiplying by the infusion rate, which told us the 18 units per kilogram per hour. So we're going to eliminate kilograms. Again, if I just do my multiplication there, I will be in units per hour. The question says we want it to be in milliliters per hour. So this is where I have to look at my IV. My IV, I have the 250 ml, 25,000 units. So we're trying to cancel units. We want ml. So 250, 25,000. Units cancel. So before I do any math, I'm already in ml per hour. So I'm good to go there. That's what I'm looking for. So I'm going to take that 119.1 times 18 times 250, and I'm going to divide by 25,000. And I'm going to get 21.438. So we're just going to round that to 21.4 mil per hour. So again, this is something that you've done before. So hopefully that flows just fine. I gave you a couple of practices. I know I've already written on them, but you can go through and once you download a copy of it, like if you go to the save folder and then download a copy for yourself, you can just delete my text and then you can practice it. So you can do that. And then you'll always have the my writing listed on here. Or you can just write it on a separate sheet of paper and just make sure you're getting the same answer as me. And you should be good. Um, Let me go to one of those nitroglycerin infusions. That's heparin. Lots of heparin practice on this review. Lots and lots of heparin practice. Lots of heparin practice. So these are all skewed, so you might just have to, like I said, delete a few of these things and you'll be fine. Actually, I'll do that right now. Well, this is my copy anyway, so it doesn't matter. So I'm just gonna, I just want to see if I can move that up. There we go. Here we go. All right. So this question here, these two questions are when they ask you, these are more heparin infusion type questions. It's just that all they're asking you to do is to convert the units per hour flow rate to the milliliters per hour flow rate. And so you can see what I did. So I choose, and you could do this any way you want, but I choose to start with the flow rate that they give me. So I take the 2,500 units per hour, and then I cancel out units and I multiply by the milliliters, and I'm getting that from the IV solution, the 250 ml with the 25,000 units of heparin. So units cancel, and then I have ml on top, hour on the bottom, and then I get my 25 mil per hour. The reason I write these out for those of you who haven't worked with me before is because it gives you an idea of how to structure these things. If I tell you that I just do it in my head, I feel like that doesn't help you out at all. And if you ever get stuck or if you're putting the numbers inconsistently in the wrong place, I just want to make sure you see the methodology as far as that's concerned. If they gave me milliliters per hour and they wanted units per hour, I could actually work this problem the exact same way. I would just flip these two numbers here. I would just flip the 250 ml, I put it on the bottom and put the 25,000 units on top, and then I would be able to solve it the same way. As long as hours on the bottom and the either units or milliliters are on the top, you're doing it right. It's just a matter of organizing it to kind of get started. All right, let's look at this nitroglycerin question. Let's see if I have some that I haven't done yet because I worked through some of these. Let's work through this one here. So I think they're all the same. Yeah. All right. So I'm going to work through this one here. It says that you are to infuse nitroglycerin at 20 mics per minute. What's available is 25 milligrams per 125 ml. And we want to calculate the infusion rate in milliliters per hour. So that's exactly what we're going to do. So there's a couple of things we want to do for this. We want to, we can't do anything with micrograms and milligrams. They have to be the same. So we have to convert those. I'm going to show you the long way. And then I'll also show you some additional ways that you can set this up if you're, don't like what I show you in just a minute. And then you got to remember to convert minutes to hours. I have a feeling that a lot of people miss this question because they don't convert minutes to hours. So I'm going to show you the long way. I'm going to start with my 20 micrograms per minute. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to set a conversion factor and I'm going to first convert minutes to hours. This is just a preference. You could do this however you like. That's just what I chose to do. Now, when I do this, I've converted it to hours, but I haven't done any math yet. The next thing I want to do is I want to convert micrograms to milligrams. So I'm going to put my micrograms down here and my milligrams up here. 1 milligram is equivalent to 1,000 micrograms. So right now, just looking at units, the units I'm in are milligrams per hour. I'm trying to get to milliliters per hour. So do I have a way to relate milligrams to milliliters? I do in my available. So that's the next step, and the final step in this is I'm going to relate and I'm going to cancel out milligrams for milliliters. So 125 milliliters here, 25 milligrams here, and now we just multiply across the top, divide by what's on the bottom, and that'll be our answer. So let me go through that. I'm going to take 20 times 60 times 125. I'm going to divide by 1,000, and then I'm going to divide by 25, and I'm going to get a big whopping 6 milliliters per hour. All those numbers. And we're going to reduce it down to 6. Alternatively, I could convert the 20 micrograms per minute. I could convert that to milligrams per minute. So that would be 0.02, right? 1, 2, 3. Yeah, 0.02 milligrams per minute. And then I could do I can just skip a step. So I've like kind of already converted it. So I could start there. I had a student in another class ask about that. I could also take the 25 milligrams and convert that to micrograms. So I could say 25,000 micrograms per milliliter, per 125 milliliter. Sorry, 125. The 125 milliliter. So you can do it any number of ways. The important thing is that you get to the correct answer. That's really what it comes down to. One of the two-step type questions that involves the kind of like a nitro infusion, but it's a dopamine infusion. We have the order is the 5 micrograms per kilogram per minute. We have a patient weight of 70 kilograms. And then we have the 400, and the available is 400 over 250. So I already worked through this one, but you could see we take the patient's weight 70 kilograms times the 5 micrograms per kilogram per minute. Now, this one I just solved for this. So I got the 350 micrograms per minute. And then I just started, and then I turned that 400 milligrams into 400,000 micrograms and then converted minutes to hours. You can do this any number of ways. I think on the original version of this, the key is wrong. But what I have written here is correct. So if you're working through this question and or you see it on another practice test or practice set of questions, just know that the correct answer is that 13.1. Also, if you're going through any of the tests, even if they're old ones and or practice sets, and you see something that looks incorrect, email me. I will make sure I help you correct it if it is something that is truly wrong. This might look familiar to you. Um, if you recall from your pediatric dosages, you had to calculate ranges. That's all this is, so that it's not intentionally confusing, but sometimes if you don't know what to do when they tell you to titrate starting at 15 and working your way up to 200, like that's all we did. We just treated it like a range, and then you just that way you can kind of see how you're what you're evolving your flow rate to. You start at 4.5 and make your way up to 60 as your final answer. But that is just doing the workup here. That, like I said, you've seen before in 230 when you did your pediatric um, dosages. So some of this key I think I crossed out because some of it is the numbers don't match up anymore because I changed a lot of it. So if you go in there and you see some of that, just know that I worked through most of this. And if there's something I didn't work through that you want to see, um, you can certainly ask about it now, or you can look at it and just email me um, the next time. So like I said, the big things for you guys for this semester is knowing how to do the nitroglycerin titration and then doing the heparin infusion, um, and just knowing how to manipulate those things. So the biggest thing is practice, practice, practice. And like I said, we have plenty of extra practice things. So if you want to do some more, let me know if you have anything else you want to look at. So I'm just going to stop talking for a second and just wait and see if you have any questions.
So this sounds very like basic, but would you be able to like go over the rounding rules? Because I swear every semester it just like gets kind of rusty with me and I just kind of want to make sure that I'm, rounding the right way because sometimes the little differences will change your answer. So,
Yeah, no, 100%. I think that's a great thing to review. So hold on one second because I have another document here that I can show you um, what the rules are. Give me one second. So the rounding rules are stated in your blueprint. So when you're let's go up here. When you are doing your blueprint, it is supposed to be listed there for you. Um, but I did write these out for my Allegheny reviews. So if you're looking for them, you can pull up my Allegheny reviews and you can see these things. I think it's actually in the main folder. Like when you click on the OneDrive link, there's a just kind of like just some helpful tips. And it applies to all the campuses because I pulled it just from um, the the blueprint. So it should be regular, but let's just go through here. Um, so a couple things. So first of all, not even talking about rounding, but paying attention to your use of leading and lagging zeros. So if you have a dose that's less than 1, so usually we're talking about milliliters, you want to make sure that you write your answer as like it is here, like that 0.5. Don't write 0.5, That's wrong. Don't write 0.50. That's wrong. Don't write 0.50. That's wrong. The correct answer, the correct way to write that is 0.5. That way, there's no discrepancy over whether or not that the answer is a 0.5, because I could think that this is 5, I could think this is 50, this is 50. So you're just trying to eliminate all doubt, even though most everything is going to be typed up anymore. It's still, that's what they want you to do. Then the trailing zeros, that's what I demonstrated here. So this 0.50. So if I were to write this 0.50, we don't want that trailing zero. That is, we don't want that listed there. Most students don't have an issue with that, but just figured I'd throw that out there since we're talking about it and it's listed here. All right, so as far as rounding is concerned, when you have a volume greater than 1, okay? So when the volume is greater than 1 milliliter, then we want to calculate our answer to the nearest tenths. So I'll show you the way this is worded is a little bit funky, but we want to round it to the nearest tenth. So let's say I have, as an example, 1.25 milliliters. That is a perfectly fine number, and probably would be acceptable if you have a syringe or a way to measure down to that 2.5 marker. But what they want you to do is to round that number to the nearest tenth. So you're going to look at the hundredth place, which is where the 5 is. So there's the hundredth place where the 5 is. If it's 5 or greater, we're going to round up. So your answer would be 1.3. If it's 4 or fewer, then you don't round up. You just drop the number and leave it as 1.2. Okay. So that's your rule for numbers greater than 1. Now they say volumes greater than 1, but this would apply to flow rates. This would apply to when you're doing your pounds to kilograms. Where you don't want to round is when you're doing your basic metric to metric conversion. So if I'm going from milligrams to grams or micrograms to milligrams, I do not want to round those numbers. So if I get 0.275, that's my answer. If I get 1.25, that's my answer. You don't want to round those numbers, and I'll explain that and I'll show you in just a second. If you have a volume that is less than 1 milliliter, now we want to go and we basically we're trying to get, like it says up here, we're looking to have like 2 digits in your answer. So if you have a number that's like 0.969, what you want is two of those numbers. So if it's, what you're going to do is you're going to look here in the thousandths place and you're going to round it to the nearest hundredth. So if it's 0.969, if it's 5 or greater, round up to 0.97. If it's 4 or fewer, keep it at don't round that number up, just drop the numbers after the hundredths place. So you want to have those two numbers. A lot of times what you're going to find is you're going to get an answer for, like, let's say it's a like an intramuscular injection, and your answer is going to be something like 0.35. That's your answer. Just leave it at that. That is a perfectly acceptable answer. However, if you get an answer like 1.35, then you want to round that to the 1.4. And a lot of that is just based off of what available syringe you have. So you may not have a syringe that lets you go down measure the hundredth place. It may only go into the tenths, which is the purpose of rounding.
Okay,
Uh,
thanks.
you're welcome.
So for the kilograms, we're always like rounding that, correct?
Yes, round it
Not
to the nearest tenth. Yeah,
to the 10th. Okay. And then for the mLs per hour, that can be rounded as well. Like it doesn't have to be a whole number.
correct. It
Okay.
now you might want to double check with your instructor, but uh, it The only thing that is a whole number that's a flow rate would be drops per minute because you can't give somebody a partial drop.
Okay,
Um,
thank you.
you're welcome. You could give somebody a tenth of a milliliter per hour. You just may not be able to program that into the infusion pump. You know what I mean? Like if you're at the hospital and you're setting the infusion pump, you may not be able to put 35.4 milliliters per hour. You might only have the option of 35. So that's where there's a little bit of discrepancy between CCAC dosage calc math bubble and real life. Um, I was gonna add just one thing. The oh wait, I thought they were maybe it's not here. I thought I had some example questions. Never mind. All right, never mind. I don't have the example questions here. But like your basic conversions, do not round your basic conversions. But I don't think you had a question about that. It was more so when you do need to um um round, when do you do that? So good question.
Thank you.
All right, so that's a good question. So some of these, yes, some of these, no. So if you work through some of these, you should be able to get to a solid answer. But if you're not 100% certain, you can work through them, and if you email me what you work through, I can confirm your answers. I just don't I've changed these a couple of times, and I've worked through them like in these reviews, but I try and leave some for you to kind of work through on your own. So I don't always have a key ready for these. So the two that are posted there, they probably are missing keys. But I've written through some of them, so you will see some of the correct answers there. But if you need to verify anything, if you just send me like a screenshot of what you're working on, then or even just copy paste the question, I can confirm your answer.
Okay, that's fine. Or could you um scroll up to the parenteral medication one? Are we able to work on that one?
Absolutely. This one here?
Yeah, I think I got the answer, but I just wasn't sure if I'm like overthinking it.
Okay. Yeah, so for this one, we just want to make sure that we're looking at the label. And so the order is 30 milligrams. Um, and then my available, I have two things here, right? It says 20
Right.
milligrams, but then it says 10 milligrams per milliliter. So I don't want to use that. I
You want
want
to
to
use the
use
10
the 10
milligrams.
per milliliter. Yep.
Okay.
Yeah. And so you should just have 3 ml as your answer.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome. Yeah, I think a lot of these, because you've already done these a bunch of times for the previous semesters. Um, this is this review sheet's the same review sheet that was put together for 230, because there's really not much difference between 230 and 240.
Okay. So those pediatric questions, will those not be on this at all?
Correct. Yeah, you won't have
Okay.
any pediatric questions. That was just for pediatric dosage.
Okay, I wasn't sure. Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. All right. Well, I'll hang around here for the next couple minutes. If you have any questions, just go ahead and pop on. If you're okay and just need to work through this and want to send me questions later, that's also okay with me. So, um, whatever you decide to do.
Okay, and this is recorded. Is this going to be put onto YouTube?
Yes. So like
Okay.
just the few questions that I did. Like right now I have I guess it's still recording. I was gonna say I thought I had it paused, but I paused it during some of the earlier breaks. But I'll have it uploaded on YouTube either later tonight or tomorrow.
All right. Thank you.
You're welcome. Good luck on your test.
Thank you. Bye.
See ya.